Hey everyone, Mr.E here with another SolidWorks tutorial for students and beginners. And in this one, we're talking about SolidWorks CAM in order to prepare a model that you've created for production with a CNC machine like a mill or a lathe or something for subtractive manufacturing. But listen, before we get into this SolidWorks CAM, we have to talk about the technology database. I'll cover just the technology database in this tutorial, and I cover the basics of SolidWorks CAM in a second video, which you can find in my SolidWorks playlist. So let's open up the technology database. From your SolidWorks homepage, go Tools, SolidWorks CAM, Technology Database, and that's going to open up a new window. Now, the technology database is essentially where all of the nitty-gritty information for SolidWorks CAM is stored, such as what machines you have, what tools you have, all your feeds and speeds. And it's really important that you set all of this up for your actual CNC machine that you're going to work with prior to preparing a CAM file. Now, if you're just playing with SolidWorks CAM, you could of course use all the defaults, but if you want to create a successful G-code file or an NC program for your CNC, this technology database has to match the equipment you're working with. So by default, you'll see that you have a couple mills, a 3-axis mill, a 4th-axis mill, a 5-axis mill, as well as a single turret lathe. Let's pretend like I'm working with my own custom 3-axis mill. I'm going to click on the mill default and then make a copy of this. Then for the new one, let's call it like my CNC mill. Now, the most important thing to export your successful G-code file is the correct post processor. And this post processor should be provided by your CNC machine. You'll notice that SolidWorks CAM has a bunch of post processors for some of their common CNCs that they work with. Like for example, I do have a Haas CNC machine in my makerspace that I could actually select here. I also have things like a Carvera or a Carvera Air desktop CNC where that company has actually provided a post processor that I could load and install in my actual SolidWorks CAM as well. So you want to make sure that you're working with your CNC machine, and let's just call this my Haas CNC, and you select the correct post processor in order to successfully work with your job. Now, in terms of medium duty, light duty, heavy duty, whatever, this actually corresponds to SolidWorks' default feeds and speeds. So if I say this is a medium duty CNC, it's going to work with the default medium duty CNC feeds and speeds. I'll say that this is actually a heavy duty CNC that I'm working with, so that's going to correspond to the heavy duty default speeds and feeds. But again, that is something that should match your CNC. I'm going to set this as my default machine, so it's the one that I'll always select by default in my SolidWorks CAM. And you also want to change your different specifications. So what is the horsepower, what's your maximum feeds and speeds, what is your table travel, and all those different things. Do you have a turret? So for example, do you have a tool changer? Which tool crib are you working with? That you actually want to correspond with. I'll talk about the tool crib in a moment. And again, making sure that all of this actually interacts with your CNC. Some of these numbers are less important, like for example, the tool swap time, how many seconds that takes. That's not going to make or break your CNC project, but when you generate your G-code file and it gives you a time of how long it'll take to machine, having an accurate number for how long it takes to swap your tool will give you a more accurate time in your generation. You can also adjust your spindle, which is important, all these different figures and notes and things like that. And again, most of this information should be provided by your CNC manufacturer. So I'll click Save. So that's for my CNC machine. Now, we discussed something a moment ago, which were the tool cribs, right? So if I come back to Mill, you'll notice over here I have the tool crib. So this is the collection of tools that I'll be working with for any of my jobs. And my Haas actually has a 10-place tool changer. So I might want to have a 10-place tool crib, right? My Carvera, on the other hand, has a 6-place tool changer. So I might want to have a 6-place tool crib. You might also have a CNC that doesn't have an automatic tool changer, but you still want to select a tool crib to define the tools that you'll be using for any of the jobs with your projects. And you might actually want to make multiple CNC copies with multiple tool crib sets, depending on how often you change those parts. Before we actually get into the tool crib, let's talk about our actual tools, right? So what tools do we have to work with? So if we head over to mill tooling, you'll see that you have all of the default mills and cutting tools that are accessible for all of your CNC milling machines. So if I, for example, go to drills, you'll see that these are all the drills that SolidWorks has built into your SolidWorks CAM. Same thing if I go to flat end mills. These are all the flat end mills that are built in to SolidWorks CAM. Now, there's a pretty extensive collection of tools, but of course you might find that you have some tools that SolidWorks CAM doesn't have. So for example, looking at my flat end mills here, let's say that I want to actually work with, I don't know, a 1/4 inch flat end mill that I'll be working with here. I don't see that in this collection. So you can just create a new tool, but I actually find it's far easier to copy an existing tool. So this one is pretty close to what I'll actually be working with. So let me copy this tool, and you'll see it comes down here as a copy, right? Let's go ahead and adjust the tool ID. So I'm going to call this a 6.35 millimeter or 1/4 inch cutting tool. It's only going to be a 2-flute tool, and it's going to actually be 25 millimeters in length, and it's high-speed steel. So I just changed the name there. Now, subtype rough or finish, this will change how you can select it. So if you create a finishing tool path, you can only select finishing tools. If you create a roughing tool path, you can only select roughing tools. If you click rough and finish, you can select your tools whenever you want, which is what I personally recommend. So it's a straight tool. I just said that the diameter is actually 6.35 millimeters. The shank diameter is also 6.35 millimeters. That's the cutting diameter and the shank diameter, both 1/4 inch. My overall length is 60 mil, but my flute length is 25 mil. Oops, not 252, 25 as we go. Oh, it doesn't actually let you, sorry, I have to change the shoulder length first because the shoulder length has to be longer or equal to the flute length. So I got a little error there that I couldn't make the flute length longer than the shoulder length, and actually my shoulder length is slightly longer. I'm measuring my bit right now with calipers just to see what these are. So my shoulder length is 28 mil. Right hand cut, number of flutes, 2. Yes, it has a center cutting tip, and as mentioned, it's high-speed steel. Comments, I'm just going to take the tool ID and drop that into my comments. Cool. Now, in terms of cutting parameters, this is why copying and pasting a tool that's similar is nice. I'm going to keep all the same feeds and speeds and things like that that I had from the tool that I copied, but you can actually select a different material group category if you were going out of the default and adjust your feeds and speeds. Again, this should all correspond specifically to your CNC machine and should be provided by the manufacturer. So I'm going to click Save, and I have that tool. Now, you could obviously go and do that for all of your tools and set up all the different tools that you have for thread milling or whatever it is, ball nose, and all the different things that you might be doing here. But like I mentioned, it is much, much, much easier to actually make a copy of tools. One thing I found is I work with a lot of chamfering bits, but I noticed that there isn't necessarily a chamfering bit category. So for that, I found that, you know what, a countersink bit actually has very similar geometries to my chamfering tools where I can actually set the angle of my chamfer, right? So you might have to play with the different categories here as you can't necessarily change the types of classifications, but you can create additional tools and set this up. You can also change your holders and things like that. This, again, doesn't necessarily make or break the success of your CNC program if you have the right holders selected. But what will happen is you'll get a more accurate simulation if you have the correct holders and all those different features correct for your CNC. Now, feeds and speeds is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So the feeder speed editor basically automatically will calculate the feeds and speeds based on your spindle, your bits, and the stock material. So to change your feeds and speeds, you also want to make sure that you have stock material, right? So if I go into my default stock material, you'll see that these are all of the materials that I have to work with in my default stock material as I go here. But you'll notice that when you look at all these different materials, clearly this can't be all the materials that you're going to be working with. So for example, one material I like to work with a lot is machinable wax as a testing and prototyping material, but there is no machinable wax here, right? So let's go ahead and add another material. I'm going to go to Feed and Speed Editor, and this is where you can see you have all of your materials that are built in to SolidWorks CAM, etc. And I'm going to come down here to Special Materials, and I'm going to add a new material. I'm going to call this machinable wax, okay, as my material that I'm adding to my cam here, like so. If I want to put in like a cost, it will generate an effective cost for me, and I have my material category, right, that I'm working with. Then I have to put in some different figures for, you know, its default cutting speeds and things like that. So I'm just going to add some quick numbers in here. I don't actually have these off the top of my head, but let me just punch in some rough numbers here to work with as I'm working with for all this. And feeds and speeds, you also need to define your feeds and speeds if I want to actually change these default feeds and speeds too, or you can copy off of a material that's kind of close. So for example, I can say that this is actually pretty similar to polyurethane, and I can copy directly off of that. Then I can hit save and create material, and we should see machinable wax right here under special materials as what I just added, okay? So let's close this. And if I come to default stock material, you'll notice that machinable wax is still not in this default stock material, because after you make a change in your feed and speed editor, you have to update. So let's hit update stock material and let's run this. This could take quite a while if you make a lot of changes. I only made one change, so hopefully this takes a couple seconds. But if you do make a bunch of changes to your materials, your feeds, your speeds, this could take several minutes, even 20 to 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, depending on how many changes you've done. This is going to go through and it's going to check every single material for any possible changes. So I'll fast forward this and come back once it's done. All right, that just updated. It took about 2 minutes to do. And if I come back over to default stock material, we see that machinable wax has been added as a default stock material. If I want, I can make this my default, which means that every time I select a material, the machinable wax is the default, which I actually use because I use this as a test before I'll run through and make something out of aluminum or whatever it might be. Now, the other thing you can do is you can change your feeds and speeds. So if I come back over to the feeds and speeds editor, if I come over to feeds and speeds, you'll see that you have all the default feeds and speeds for every material that you have to work for. So if I come to machinable wax, if I choose, let's say, 2 to 3 axis machining on a heavy duty mill using a high speed steel bit, these are what my default cutting speeds would be. And I can go ahead and make adjustments to this individually if I'd like, or I can adjust the entire table in bulk. Again, you have to be very careful as you're doing this and making sure that this corresponds. If you want to change a number individually, you can just simply double click on something like this. If you want to make a bulk change, like let's say increase or decrease something, you can use this quick change feature. So let's say I want to slow down my cutting feed by 10% on every single parameter. I can say change feed 10% down, and it will automatically bring all of this down by 10%, which if you want to adjust a table for a specific material. But you do have to, unfortunately, set this table individually for every material. I'm just going to click no to my changes. Every material, every type of operation, and every type of mill that you might be working with, one at a time. So it's extremely time consuming, but once you set up your feeds and speeds, the overall CAM process should be way more efficient and smooth. I'm going to close this without saving. To be clear, if I did make a change there, I would have to say update speed and feed library tool material data in order for that to actually apply to my CNC. So you have to update your material data, update your feeds and speeds for that to actually be applied after you make changes in the editor, which again could take like an hour or so, depending on how many changes you make. Now, the last thing to look at here is that tool crib, right? So let's say that I actually have a job. I'm going to be using my CNC machine, and I've already set my materials, my feeds, my speeds. I've added my bits to my tooling. Now I want to set the tool crib that I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to head and just make a copy of this tool crib, okay? So I'm going to come back here and duplicate this, so I now have a copy of it, right? And let's just call this my crib 1, okay? And I have a 10 station tool crib. Cool, right? Now I have to add a tool. What are the tools I'm going to be working with? So let me add a drill bit that I'm going to be working with. Let's say that I'm going to be using a, I don't know, 3.2 millimeter drill bit. Cool. I'll select this and add this to my crib. Let's say I'm going to be using this 2 mil ball nose bit. Let's say, where's the bit that I made earlier? I want my 6.35 millimeter end mill that I made. Let's say that I'm going to be using a countersinking bit. That's actually going to be a chamfering bit, but we're going to call it a countersinking bit, right? As I come through, right? And I'm going to go ahead and add this to my crib. Now, because I said it's a 10 spot station, it won't let me add more than 10 bits. I'm not actually going to be using 10 bits for this job, so I don't need to add all 10. But what is important is that you put your station number. So this one's going to be in station number 1, save. This one's in station number 3, save. This one's in station number 4, and this one's in station number 9. Okay, so I've assigned my station numbers. That's really important to actually automatically generate your tool changer. So that way when it runs the G-code file, it selects the correct tool. Okay, so we have our tool crib. I have all this filled out. Let's come back to mill. The last thing I need to do is assign this crib to my CNC. So my CNC mill, right? What is the tool crib that I'm going to be working with for this CNC mill? Come down here and say my crib 1, and then click save. And yes, you do have to change that every project. So let's say, for example, I'm going to make a new project and I want to use 5 different tools. I can either choose to add them to this existing tool crib or make a new tool crib and make sure that I assign that tool crib to my CNC. But everything here are the defaults, so you can fine tune your selections and things like that in SolidWorks CAM. But the first step to any successful CAM project is to put a lot of time into making your technology database correspond to your workspace. So that's the end of this initial tutorial video for the generic setup of your technology database. Check out my next tutorial to see how you can apply these things for a CAM project.